Oasis Audio presents Jesus, Jihad and Peace by Michael Youssef. Read for you by Jon Gauger. Author's Preface. I was born in the Middle East, spent my early years in the culture of the Middle East, and I return to the Middle East often. I have had many long, revealing conversations with Muslims in general and Islamist hardliners in particular. I know the Middle East well, and have had much first-hand experience with Islamic practices and thought processes. Although I am an American now, for most of my life I have lived with one foot in the West and one foot in the East. Throughout this book, I have tried to distinguish between Islamic ideology and Muslims as people. I have many dear friends and acquaintances who embrace Islam. While I risk being criticized for my sociological, economic, political, and religious assessments of Islam, my ardent desire is that no one would misunderstand my genuine affection and appreciation for Muslim people. From my perspective as a Christian, I see all other religious systems as less than whole. Jesus declared, "I am the way, and the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." John 14:6. And the Apostle Peter testified before the members of the Jewish ruling council, the Sanhedrin, "Salvation is found in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved." Acts 4:12. I cannot be true to my Christian faith and believe otherwise. Yet the fact that I, as a Christian, understand Islam to be a false worldview does not mean I look down on Muslim people in any way. On the contrary, I am compelled by my love for Muslim people. I feel a deep burden for them, and I humbly yearn for them to know the fullness of life that comes only through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Introduction. A wake-up call. Al-Qaeda founder Osama bin Laden was killed by Navy SEALs at his compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, on May 2, 2011. Almost 5 months later, Anwar al-Awlaki, one of al-Qaeda's top recruiters, was killed by a CIA drone attack in Yemen. Yet the threat of terrorism only grew greater and more frightening in the ensuing months. By 2014, we began to hear rumblings of a new terror threat in the Middle East. Operating for years beneath the radar of Western news organizations, a Sunni terror group called Al-Qaeda in Iraq broke away from the larger Al-Qaeda organization, calling itself the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, or the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL, or simply the Islamic State, IS. It proclaimed itself a caliphate with religious authority over all Muslims. ISIS took advantage of the civil war in Syria and the power vacuum in Iraq following the U.S. departure. It metastasized like a cancer, swallowing territory, conquering villages and cities, including Mosul, the second largest city in Iraq, slaughtering thousands of Christians and Shiite Muslims, and dumping their bodies in mass graves. In August 2014, the Wall Street Journal reported that ISIS was running a self-sustaining economy by looting banks, selling pirated oil and antiquities, ransoming kidnapped victims, and extorting protection money from business owners, farmers, Christians, and other religious minorities. We are horrified at the inhuman acts of ISIS, from beheading journalists to crucifying, stoning, and beheading Christian men, women, and children. We turn away from these horrors, wishing we could get the images out of our minds, feeling sorry for those poor people over there, and feeling glad that at least that could never happen here. Yet if ISIS and other Islamist groups get their way, they will bring these horrors here. They won't stop at gobbling up Iraq and Syria or the entire Middle East or Europe and Africa. Their goal is to establish a global caliphate. Could ISIS accomplish this ambitious goal? Who knows? But no one should assume that Western civilization is safe. No one should assume that ISIS cannot do what it says it will do. In January 2014, ISIS controlled one city, Fallujah, 43 miles west of Baghdad. By August 2014, ISIS controlled 1/3 of Iraq and 1/3 of Syria, and it showed no signs of stopping. No one can predict what the forces of Islamic extremism might accomplish. So, we wonder, what's next? Is there any hope for world peace, or is terror our destiny? Why is there so much turmoil in the Middle East?
Sample complete. Ready to continue?